Steve McQueen didn't speak for 3 hours that day. He sat in his trailer in El Paso, Texas, staring at the desert through a dusty window, a half-burned cigarette between his fingers. The crew outside was setting up the next scene, but everyone knew something had shifted. Ali MacGraw had arrived on set that morning with different eyes. And Robert Evans, 2,000 miles away in his Paramount office, dismissed the first whispers as nothing more than crew talk. The year was 1972. The temperature outside hit 112 degrees. And Hollywood's most untouchable marriage was about to collapse in complete silence. The story begins 2 years earlier, in a different world entirely. Robert Evans wasn't just successful in 1970, he was Hollywood royalty. At 40 years old, he had done what most men only dreamed of. He saved a dying studio, married the most beautiful woman in America, and became the single most powerful producer in the film industry. Paramount Pictures had been circling the drain when he took over production in 1966. The old guard didn't believe in him. He was too young, too handsome, too Hollywood. Former actor turned executive? It was a joke to them, but Evans didn't care what they thought. He never did. He greenlit films nobody else would touch. He fought for directors the studio wanted to fire. He turned The Godfather from a rejected mafia novel into the most important film of the decade, against everyone's advice. And when the critics said Love Story was too sentimental, too soft, too simple, Evans released it anyway. It became the highest-grossing film of 1970. The tagline haunted America for years. Love means never having to say you're sorry. But Evans' greatest production wasn't a film. It was Ali MacGraw. He discovered her in a photograph, a model with dark eyes and an intelligence that cut through the superficiality of fashion magazines. He cast her in Goodbye Columbus, then in Love Story. He shaped her image, controlled her narrative, built her into a star. And then, in 1969, he married her. The press called them Hollywood's perfect couple. Evans, brilliant, driven, untouchable. Ali, elegant, graceful, radiant. Their wedding was front-page news. Their mansion in Beverly Hills became the center of Hollywood's social universe. Francis Ford Coppola came to their parties. Jack Nicholson, Warren Beatty, Roman Polanski. Everyone wanted to be in Robert Evans's orbit. Because when you were with Evans, you were at the center of the world. But Ali MacGraw felt like she was disappearing. Nobody asked her what she wanted. They asked Evans. They asked her agent. They asked the studio. She was America's sweetheart, but she couldn't remember the last time she'd made a choice for herself. Every premiere, every interview, every photograph, it was all orchestrated. Evans loved her, she knew that. But he loved her the way a director loves a perfect shot. From a distance, with control. She started staying up late, sitting by the pool, wondering what her life would look like if she could just stop. Stop performing. Stop being perfect. Stop being Ali MacGraw, the star, and just be Ali, the woman who didn't know who she was anymore. That's when Sam Peckinpah called Evans about the Getaway. Peckinpah was trouble. Brilliant, yes, but volatile, alcoholic, impossible to manage. His films were violent, raw, uncompromising. Evans hesitated. But Peckinpah had Steve McQueen attached. And in 1972, Steve McQueen was the one Star Studios couldn't afford to ignore. If McQueen wanted you in his film, you said yes. Peckinpah wanted Ali for the female lead. A wife on the run with her criminal husband. A woman trying to escape her past. Evans read the script. It was rough, tough, nothing like Love Story. But it was a smart career move. Peckinpah was hot. McQueen was box office gold. And Ali needed to work. She'd been out of the spotlight for almost 2 years. So Evans told Ali to do it. He didn't ask. He told her. And Ali, like always, said yes. Hollywood had seen relationships before. But this one was different. Steve McQueen was 42 years old when he arrived in El Paso to shoot The Getaway. McQueen grew up learning one rule. If someone controls you, you lose. He carried that rule into Hollywood, and he never let go. His mother abandoned him. Reform schools tried to break him. The Marines tried to discipline him. Nothing worked. By the time he became an actor, McQueen knew exactly who he was, a man who would die before he let anyone own him. He rewrote scripts. He fired directors. He made sure every scene, every shot, every frame was built around him, not out of ego, out of survival, because the second you gave them power, they owned you. When Peckinpah sent him the script for The Getaway, McQueen read it in one night. A bank robber, a tense marriage, a desert escape. It was perfect. Then Peckinpah told him Ally MacGraw was his co-star. McQueen paused. He knew who she was. Everyone did. Love Story had made her the most famous woman in America. He'd seen her at a few industry events, always standing next to Robert Evans, always smiling, always perfect. McQueen didn't like perfect. Perfect meant fake. Perfect meant controlled. But he didn't say anything. He just said yes. He'd figure out the rest on set. Evans didn't see it coming that day. The first day of shooting in El Paso was chaos. Peckinpah was already drunk by noon, screaming at the cinematographer about light. The heat was unbearable. 2 degrees, no shade, dust everywhere. The crew was miserable, and Ally MacGraw stepped out of her trailer looking like she hadn't slept in days. She was beautiful, yes, everyone could see that, but there was something else in her face, something tight, tired, like she was holding her breath and had been for years. McQueen noticed immediately. He always noticed. It was a skill he'd learned as a kid on the streets. Read people fast, figure out who's dangerous, who's weak, who's worth your time. Ally wasn't dangerous, but she wasn't weak either. She was something else, trapped. Their first scene together was in a motel room, a quiet moment, no dialogue. Just the two of them sitting across from each other, the weight of their characters, marriage hanging in the air. Peckinpah wanted tension, he wanted discomfort. He got it. McQueen didn't say anything off camera. He just watched Ally, the way she held herself, the way she tried to disappear into the corner of the room, the way her hands shook slightly when she thought no one was looking. When Peckinpah called action, McQueen didn't act. He just stared at her. Not at Ally MacGraw, the star. At Ally, the woman, and something in her face cracked. Just for a second. But McQueen saw it. After the take, Peckinpah yelled, "Perfect! That's the fucking shot!" McQueen stood up and walked outside. Ally stayed in the room, trying to catch her breath. She didn't know what had just happened. But she felt it, that look, that silence. Steve McQueen had seen her. Not the image, not the performance. Her. And it terrified her. Ally was asking herself the question for the first time. The days blurred together. Heat. Dust. Peckinpah screaming. McQueen silent. Ally trying to keep herself together. She called Robert every night. He was busy. The Godfather was about to open, and he was managing 100 crises at once. Brando was being difficult. Coppola was being impossible. Evans barely had time to talk. "How's the shoot?" he'd ask. "Fine," she'd say. "How's McQueen?" "Professional." Evans didn't worry. Not yet. Then it happened. Lunch break on set. Week 2. Ally sat alone under a torn canvas awning, script in her lap, trying to memorize lines for the afternoon. A production assistant walked over and handed her a folded note. "From Mr. Evans's office," the kid said. Ally opened it. Instructions. Notes from Robert about her performance. Notes from the studio. Reminders about an interview she needed to schedule. A list of things she needed to do, say, be. She stared at the paper for a long moment. Then she crumpled it in her fist. Steve McQueen was 20 feet away, leaning against a truck, smoking. He saw the whole thing. He didn't say a word. He just watched her crush that note in her hand, watched her face tighten, watched her try not to cry. Then he looked away. Like he was giving her privacy. But Ally knew. He'd seen her. The real her. The one who was suffocating. That was the moment. Not a kiss, not a confession. Just a crumpled piece of paper and a man who understood. It started small after that. Conversations between takes, shared cigarettes, a quiet understanding that didn't need words. McQueen didn't flirt. He didn't perform. He was just there. And for the first time in years, Ali felt like she could breathe. She started staying later on set. McQueen would drive her back to the hotel in his rented Mustang, the windows down, the desert wind in their hair. They didn't talk much. They didn't need to. One night, after a particularly hard day, McQueen parked the car outside her hotel and turned off the engine. They sat in silence for a long time. Then Ali said, "I don't know how to do this." "Do what?" "Be me." McQueen looked at her. "Then stop being what everyone else wants you to be." "It's not that simple." "Yeah," McQueen said quietly. "It is." That night, Ali didn't call Robert. She sat in her room, staring at the phone, and realized she didn't want to. She didn't want to hear about The Godfather. She didn't want to hear about the studio. She didn't want to be Mrs. Robert Evans. She wanted to be Ali. Just Ali. And the only person in the world who seemed to understand that was Steve McQueen. A week later, they kissed. Not on set. Not in front of anyone. Just the two of them in McQueen's trailer. The door closed. The world outside forgotten. It wasn't passionate. It wasn't desperate. It was quiet. Inevitable. Like gravity. Something shifted. Something broke. Back in Los Angeles, Robert Evans heard the first whisper on a Tuesday. A crew member mentioned something to a Paramount executive. McQueen and MacGraw spending a lot of time together. Evans laughed it off. "It's nonsense," he told his assistant. "Set gossip. Ignore it." But then another call came. A journalist asking pointed questions. Then another. Evans felt the first crack of doubt. He called Peckinpah. "What's going on down there?" Peckinpah, drunk as always, laughed. "You tell me, Bobby." Evans made more calls. To the line producer. To the cinematographer. "Keep an eye on things," he said. He didn't say what things. He didn't have to. But the answers he got back were vague. Uncomfortable. Nobody wanted to be the one to tell Robert Evans his wife was falling in love with another man. So Evans called Ali himself. His voice was tight. Controlled. "How's the shoot?" "Fine. How's McQueen?" Silence. Just a beat too long. "Ali?" "He's professional." Evans heard it. The hesitation. The lie. His chest tightened. 2 days later, he called again. This time, he didn't ask politely. "Are you fucking him?" Silence. The kind of silence that says everything. "Ali, are you fucking Steve McQueen?" Her voice, when it came, was steady, calm, almost relieved. "Yes." Evans felt the floor drop out from under him. The most powerful man in Hollywood, the man who controlled stars, directors, studios, couldn't control his own wife. He slammed the phone down. He poured himself a drink. And he realized, for the first time in his life, that power wasn't enough. You could build an empire. You could own a studio. You could make stars. But you couldn't make someone love you. And you couldn't compete with a man who didn't play by your rules. Steve McQueen didn't take Ali MacGraw. She walked away. And that made all the difference. Ali MacGraw left Robert Evans in 1972. The divorce was quiet. No press conferences. No public fights. Just lawyers and signatures and the end of Hollywood's perfect marriage. She married Steve McQueen in 1973. The wedding was small. Private. Nothing like the spectacle with Evans. Just the two of them and the desert and the life they thought they wanted. The Getaway became a massive hit. Critics loved the chemistry between McQueen and MacGraw because it was real. You could see it in every frame. The tension, the longing, the electricity. Audiences felt it too. The film made millions. But the marriage didn't last. McQueen was controlling. Jealous. Obsessive. He didn't want Allie to work. He didn't want her to have a career. He wanted her in Malibu, waiting for him. The same freedom he'd offered her in the desert became a different kind of cage. She tried. God, she tried. But by 1978, she couldn't breathe anymore. She left him. Just like she'd left Evans. Because Steve McQueen, for all his rebellion, for all his talk of freedom, still wanted to own her. Just in a different way. Years later, Allie would say, "I gave up everything for Steve McQueen. My marriage, my career, my identity, and I don't regret it. But I wouldn't recommend it." Robert Evans recovered. He produced Chinatown. He stayed powerful. He married again. But he never spoke about Allie in interviews. Never mentioned her name. The wound was too deep. And Steve McQueen? He kept racing, kept making films, kept living by his own rules until his body betrayed him. He died in 1980 at 50 from mesothelioma, cancer from the asbestos in his racing suits. The thing he loved killed him. But in 1972, for one burning, impossible moment, Steve McQueen took everything Robert Evans thought was untouchable. Not with force, not with money, not with charm. Just by being exactly who he was. Uncompromising, uncontrolled, undeniable. This story reminds us that real power isn't loud. It isn't about control. It isn't about position or wealth or influence. It's about the quiet certainty of living by your own rules. Steve McQueen understood that in a way few people ever do. He didn't follow the script. He didn't play the game. He just existed, fully and completely, and the world had no choice but to make room. Allie MacGraw saw that. She felt it. And for a moment, she believed she could have it too. Robert Evans learned the hardest lesson of his life. You can control everything except the human heart. They didn't hate him for the affair. They hated him because it proved the studio system had limits. These stories don't scream. They whisper. And we remember them. If you want more untold stories about the legends who changed everything without saying a word, subscribe. Because the truth is always in the silence.